All right, you've probably seen a video by now about wholesaling real estate. Maybe you saw a short reel, TikTok, something, and you're wondering, really, what is wholesaling real estate? Is it a scam? Does it actually exist? Are there real ways to make money with it? And if so, how can I get into it? We're gonna break that down in this quick video, and I'm gonna give you an overall idea of what it means to wholesale real estate and give you a practical way that you can go about maybe getting started today if you wanna make your entry into real estate investing, or even if you want to take the path that I did and grow your real estate investing strategy by being your own source of leads and deals. So first and foremost, what is wholesaling real estate? Well, very simply, it is a contractual agreement where you are putting a property under a agreement of sale. You're putting out, really all that it means is you're going out and you're negotiating a deal directly with a homeowner or a property owner, and you are putting that property under contract. So that means you're gonna have an agreement of sale. You are gonna sign it. The seller is going to sign that agreement of sale. And now you're gonna take that agreement of sale and you're going to market that property to other real estate investors. Maybe they're flippers, maybe they're landlords, maybe they're developers. And you're gonna say, hey, I have this property and I'm willing to sell you this agreement of sale for contractual purposes. If you are not a licensed realtor or broker, you're not technically allowed to sell property. And since you don't own the property, you're not technically selling the property. What you're actually selling is the piece of paper. You are selling the rights that you agreed to with the seller. You're selling that piece of paper to a new real estate investor, flipper, landlord, whatever. There is some stigma to that as to, real estate wholesaling will go away because it's dishonest, unethical. And I'll probably break all that down in a later video because there is some truth to it. If that's the way that you operate individually or as a business is dishonest or unethical, then yeah, there's a lot of dishonest and unethical individuals and businesses out there. However, you can do all of this with being completely transparent, adding value to your seller, adding value to your buyers, which are other flippers or landlords, and be honest about the entire transaction. It's really not that hard to do, but we'll break that down in another video. So there you go. Now you understand what the overall concept of wholesaling real estate is. It's just going out, negotiating a deal, putting a property under contract. So let's say I meet John Smith. He owns 123 Main Street. I go out and I say, hey, John, I'm willing to give you $100,000 for 123 Main Street. Him and I agree. We sign this agreement of sale. Now I reach out to our investor buyers and I'm going to say, hey, I have 123 Main Street under contract and I'm willing to assign that contract to you for $120,000. An end buyer agrees. He's going to sign what's called an assignment agreement, which is another contract that's just going to basically state that he agrees to all the terms of the original agreement of sale, and he is going to purchase that agreement of sale, essentially. And we're going to make the difference. We're going to make that spread. So in that hypothetical situation, we would make $20,000 for assigning that contract to our end buyer. So that is the entire transaction in a nutshell. There's a lot of other little nuanced things that you gotta do and make sure stay on course to make sure that you get from contract to the settlement table, and we'll talk more about them here. But I just want to go over high level overview. What is real estate wholesaling and how does a transaction work? So again, in that hypothetical, I go out, I negotiate a deal for $100,000. I sign an agreement of sale with John Smith. Now I have 123 Main Street under contract, and I have equitable interest in that agreement. I am not a lawyer. There's some question on this as well, whether you actually have equitable interest or not. That's not the point. We're not going to dive into that here. But that is what you are marketing. Again, I just want to highlight that you are not actually marketing the property for sale because you do not own the property, and more than likely you are not a licensed real estate agent. Therefore, you cannot market the property. You are marketing your agreement to purchase the rights of your original agreement of sale for that property. Okay. So many questions that probably pop to the top of your head is, where am I going to start this conversation with John Smith in the first place? How am I going to find 123 Main Street? And that all comes down to marketing. There's so many different ways that you can go about marketing for motivated or distressed sellers in the wholesale real estate space. And I could probably do 50 different videos on each one of them individually and go really in depth. Maybe we'll do that at a later date. So if you're interested in any specific method of marketing for distressed or motivated sellers, just comment below, let me know, and I'll make sure to put a priority to talking about that video. At this point, my wholesale real estate company has done hundreds of transactions in Pennsylvania, Jersey, Delaware, New Hampshire. We've done deals in a lot of different states. The tri-state area is our main focus, but we've done a lot of deals everywhere. And we are heavy in direct mail marketing. We've done TV commercials. We've done pay-per-click. We've done probably any marketing method or strategy. We've done it. So I can talk in depth about all of those things. But high level for this video, you need to do some form of marketing to generate that conversation with John Smith about 123 Main Street. So you can have the conversation with him about solving his problem, him selling his property to you, and you being able to get this deal done for him. So maybe that does mean you're going and you're purchasing data off a website like PropStream, or maybe you're going to use a service like Batch Leads, or something more specified like Successors Data if you're looking for probates. But in the grand scheme of things, you're looking for a specific demographic. Now this also we could go really deep into, but overall, you are looking for somebody that is likely, or at least going to be potentially likely, to have a conversation about selling their property for a steep discount. Now, there's a lot of different people that could fall into that demographic. And there's a specific story that I like to share with any acquisitions reps that have come to work for my company in the past, right? So myself, as a real estate investor, a wholesaler, a flipper, a landlord, I've done hundreds of deals, and still, even for me, if the timing was right, I would still sell one of my properties at a discount. So I had a situation, now it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, but I was going through a really tough cash flow crunch. And one of my rental properties, I had to go through a really nasty eviction. It took a couple months to actually get the people out. When we finally did get them out, they, had all their stuff in there. They trashed the place. They spray painted all the walls. They spray painted the concrete outside. That kind of really frustrated me. But I say this because even though I was wholesaling houses, I actually had a construction company at this time. However, if another wholesaler reached out to me in that time frame that I finally got them out, I had the pain of having to spend a couple $1,000s to have the property cleaned out. I had to spend a couple $1,000s to fix the place and get all the spray paint off of everything. And I just went a couple months with no income from that property. I had to go through the eviction process. If somebody reached out to me in that 2-week period and said, "Hey, Drew, I'll buy that property off you for 50, 60 cents on the dollar," I would have done it, hands down. I would have done it, even though I actually had all the resources and I had expertise in this specifically. I still would have done it because the timing was right. Now, what happened is obviously I fixed the property. I spent the money. That pain was there, but it fades after time, right? I spent the money. I got it fixed, got a new tenant in there. And then if somebody reached out to me 2 months later and said, "Hey, I'll buy that property for even 80 or 90 cents on the dollar," I'd tell them to pound sand, because that pain is no longer there, right? So it just goes to show that timing really is everything. And you want to make sure that you're persistent in reaching out to your leads, and you're always staying on top of everything. So in a nutshell, you want to purchase data. You want to market to this data in some way. Maybe it's sending direct mail. Maybe it's sending text messages, although that's getting very heavily regulated here in the end of 2023. Probably talk about that in another video as well. It could also mean that if you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, because a lot of marketing methods are really expensive, right? Direct mail, you're probably going to spend, you can send postcards for 50, 60 cents a piece. You could send letters for maybe $1 to $1.50 a piece, but you want to send to a pretty large bucket all at the same time because your response rates are not going to be 100%, right? In direct mail, your response rates are probably going to be about 1% or 0.5%, sometimes even less. So that means for every 100 pieces of mail that you send out, you may get one phone call. I know that may sound expensive or crazy. It's not, I promise you. Coming from a very big, heavy direct mail guy, it is worth it. But from a surface level, and when you're just getting started, it sounds like a really tough pill to swallow and a hard mountain to get over when somebody gives you advice like, hey, you should really send at least 1,000 pieces of mail every month. And you're like, oh my God, that's going to cost $1,000 or $2,000 every month. And out of that, I may only get like 5 to 10 phone calls. That sounds crazy. However, that hypothetical that I gave in the beginning with John Smith and 123 Main Street and being able to make a $20,000 assignment, those are pretty standard numbers. A normal assignment can make you $20, $30, $40, $50,000, sometimes more, sometimes less. So when you're first getting started, it can seem like a tough pill to swallow to spend that money on marketing. And I would definitely say don't spend that money on marketing if you're not going to educate yourself on the entire transaction as a whole, because one of the worst things that you can do is go spend that money and then either A, not pick up the phone when somebody calls, or B, not know what to say when that person calls. And then again, effectively, you're just lighting your money on fire. Or C, being able to go through that entire conversation, get the property under contract, and then you really have no plan as to what to do to sell that property to another real estate investor and be able to put money in your seller's pocket and therefore be able to put money in your pocket. So definitely educate yourself on all areas of the transaction so you're sure that you can actually get the deal done and you're adding value to everybody that you touch. There's a lot of free information out there on YouTube. On this channel, subscribe if you haven't yet. I plan to put out at least one video every single week about wholesaling or real estate in general, flipping houses, being a landlord, private money, raising money, and all other things real estate investing related. That being said, I'm also a really big proponent of paid mentoring. I do not offer any paid mentoring at this time of 2023. Maybe I will in the future. But since I started in real estate investing almost a decade ago, the first thing that I did was I hired a mentor. I spent $5,000 and I really didn't have $5,000, but I knew that the risk that I was taking going into potentially really big deals, I could lose a lot more than $5,000 if I didn't have somebody in my corner kind of making sure that I didn't do more stupid things than I needed to. And I've done a lot of stupid things over the years. But mentoring is awesome. Real estate masterminds are awesome. That being said, there is a lot of free educational content out there on YouTube. So make sure to look into all areas of the transaction, right? So, all right, now you've done all that, right? You have bought some data from some sort of data provider. You have done some form of marketing to reach out to people to let them know that you're interested in purchasing their property. Now you got to get on the phone with them. They reach out and they say, hey, I saw that you reached out. You wanted to purchase 123 Main Street. What's up? Now you need to know how to have a conversation with them about that deal and be able to portray the value that you're bringing to the table while elegantly going through and making sure they understand what it is that you're doing, right? In the grand scheme of things, wholesaling does have a bad stigma to it because there's a lot of people out there that aren't educated enough. And I don't even think that most people are intentionally lying to sellers or property owners on the phone or in person. I think they're doing it just as a result of ignorance and not knowing a better way to navigate sometimes difficult conversation. And I'll talk about this a lot deeper in another video, but I'll leave you with this. It is totally acceptable to tell a seller that you are not the one buying their property, but you will make sure that you will bring a property buyer, an investor to the equation and get this deal done for them. There's a way to do that and a way not to do that, because if you don't do it properly, they will not see your value and they'll think you're a scammer. And frankly, they're just going to be confused and not really know what it is that you're trying to do. So here we go, back to the start. You bought your data, you did some marketing, you got a seller to reach out to you. You have the conversation because you've educated yourself on how to navigate that sales conversation, or you're armed with some sort of a script. They say, yeah, sure, I like that deal. $100,000 for 123 Main Street. Let's go. What you're going to do if you're operating over the phone, you are going to write up an agreement of sale on a software like DocuSign or something like that. You're going to send it over to them. They're going to click to sign. Everything's going to be done. You'll be good to go. Everything now is ready for you to take that agreement and go market it out and find a buyer. If you're in person, obviously just have them sign in person. That's not rocket science. You got this. I believe in you. So now the last piece of the equation is you finding a buyer for this property. There's many ways to do that as well. One of the easiest ways is just posting the deal on Facebook Marketplace, joining all of the local real estate investment groups, going to in-person real estate networking events in your area, making friends with people that already are flipping houses, buying rental properties. Because that's a really easy conversation to say, hey, I'm wholesaling houses. Are you still buying deals? You flip houses? Cool. What areas, what zip codes do you like to buy in? What is the ideal deal or scenario for you that you look forward to invest in? And in the start, you don't really need a CRM. You will, if this is something that you intend to stick with professionally and do any sort of volume. But at first, you can do this all just with adding people as contacts in your phone, maybe put some notes in there as to what different investors or contacts that you make are interested in, so you can add value to them and bring them exactly what it is that they're looking for. And you're going to find somebody that says, dude, I really want 123 Main Street. I'll pay you $120,000 for it. You're going to send them over that assignment agreement. They're going to sign that. Ours is a one-page document, super simple. By the way, if you want a template of our agreement of sale or our assignment agreement, just comment below asking for AOS or assignment, and I'll make sure someone on my team sends them over to you. Now your buyer is going to sign that assignment agreement. Same thing, DocuSign or in person if you happen to be in person with them. And you're going to collect a deposit and you're going to submit everything to the title company. They're going to start working on making sure that there's no liens or judgments against the property to where they would not be able to convey clean title. This is another piece that a lot of people miss and don't understand at a deep enough level. So again, we'll probably go deeper in another video on the entire title process, what to look out for, what to know, because a lot of deals do fall out in this part of the process. And it can really, really suck when you're like, okay, I went out, did all of the initial steps. I negotiated a deal with a seller. I found a buyer. I did all the marketing. I did all the pieces. I'm going to make $20,000 when this deal clears. For you to submit that deal to the title company and find out that Mr. John Smith that agreed to sell you 123 Main Street for $100,000 actually has $180,000 worth of liens, judgments, mortgages against the property. So you are not going to be able to get this deal done, okay? So that is something to look out for. We'll talk about it in a later video, but I wanted to keep this relatively short while still going over the entire process from start to finish. But let's say everything did go smooth in our title process. Your state and title companies will be able to give you a better idea as to time frame expectations, how long it takes from when you submit the title order to them to how long it'll take to make sure that everything is clear and be able to get to the settlement table. And since you're the middleman, you're kind of the facilitator between the seller, the buyer, and the title company. You're the glue holding the whole transaction together. You're kind of coordinating the chaos, right? You got to make sure that everybody shows up where they need to on the day and time that they need to. Appraisals are happening with the buyer, with their hard money lender. You kind of have to facilitate all of this. I know a lot of people that are, a smaller operation, they kind of try to pawn a lot of this stuff off on the title company. And this is a personal preference, I guess, but I don't want to tell anybody that they're running their business or operation wrong, but I'll give you this question. If you have a $20, $30, $40, $50,000 deal on the line that you're trying to get to the table, you already worked with your seller, you already worked with your buyer, you know how much money you're going to make if this deal gets done and to the settlement table. I don't want to risk pawning that off to the title company where they're going to hand it to their processor, who is very likely a low paid starting position at their company. I don't want to let them potentially derail that entire deal. So we do handle almost all of the transaction coordinating in-house for a deal, other than, the title company actually doing their search and letting us know what issues do come up on any transaction, and then we go and do whatever we have to try to remove them obstacles. And especially if you're first starting out, I would encourage anybody to do this, even if you don't want to in the long run, just because it can be really helpful to understand the big picture of what has to be done to get a title clear and ready for settlement. With all that being said, title is clear, settlement date is scheduled. All that you have to do is show up. Not even show up. Most of the time we have remote settlements, and you're going to be paid your assignment fee on the HUD or the ALTA, the settlement statement, whatever they're going to call it at your title company, and you're going to get paid. That's all there is to it. Nothing to it. So hopefully this gives a little bit more insight rather than a 20 or 30-second reel that just shows you big fat checks and everything without any context at all. Wholesaling real estate is absolutely a real thing. It is not a scam. There's ways to do it and be really, really good at it while building a brand and operating honestly and ethically with your sellers, with your buyers, with your title companies, and can actually do real volume, make a real business out of it, and it actually supports a lot of other aspects of your real estate investing endeavors if you are also flipping houses, buying rentals, or any of those other things. So again, if you are not already subscribed to this channel, make sure to subscribe. I'm going to be dropping a lot of other content on all things related to real estate investing. If there's anything specifically that you want to see, make sure to drop it in the comments below, and I'll make sure that it's a priority that I get to those things first. Again, thanks so much for checking out the channel. See you on the next one.